Godzilla should be kind of portrayed like a giant, unfeeling, giant monster who genuinely cares, but also doesn't care. It's like this weird thing where he respects humans, but doesn't like them a lot. But kind of closer to the end of the movie, he does start to like humans, and you're just like, oh, okay. And it's just like Godzilla is more better portrayed in Godzilla King of All Monsters by Michael Daughtry, and I think that's a better idea. Yeah, where he's more of like, I like this, but I also don't. So basically, this movie did get the monster Mutos not right in this movie. They felt like generic monsters to me. It didn't feel as like interesting enough for like a Godzilla villain. That was my whole problem with it. It was just the Mutos not being interesting monsters at the end of the day. Even though they were like, oh, they're a couple, blah blah. But going back to your other question about scaling and size, scaling is very interesting in a Godzilla movie because they don't exactly show the scale and size in the older Godzilla movies versus in the Godzilla in 2014 and the newer movies, which actually show Godzilla's scale and size. And Gareth Edwards knows how to show scale and size. It's a really weird thing. It's really fascinating. So let's talk about the movie that I consider to be the worst Marvel movie of all time. Morbius is not the worst. It's actually not. The worst is Fantastic Four from 2016. Now, if you've never seen this movie, you never heard of it, and you're just like, what is Fantastic Four from 2016? Oh boy, you're in for a treat. It is a mess of a movie that I can't even begin to describe how bad it is. Simon Kinberg made this movie, and he thinks it's a great idea. Oh my god, it's so bad. It is one of the worst movies ever. It has obvious reshoots, it has obvious problems, and it has so many problems that basically their joke of a Doctor Doom villain is basically considered the least worthy of its plot. So I want to talk more about this movie, X-Men Origins Wolverine from 2009. I did bring it up in a previous TikTok, but I never fully explained why I didn't like it. The reasons why it doesn't work is because it's a movie that I feel is not a great movie in terms of pacing, in terms of editing, in terms of storytelling. It all comes down to the script. The script is one of the worst scripts I've ever read or watched in my life. It is so poorly written, so poorly executed. It's just one of those things where you just sit there and see yourself. The writing on this should have been a little bit more focused and should have been a little bit better. I feel really bad for like Hugh Jackman having to put up with the worst script I've ever seen in my life. And there was a movie version that didn't have the effects in the movie, and they did, and my manager did